Next stage is the maturity phase. And this is where you can see demand kind of flattens out, profits kind of flatten out. Basically, this is where the market has been saturated. You know, everybody who wants a smartphone has a smartphone, right? So the demand for smartphones is just for replacement smartphones or for if I got new features or whatever, but the demand stays stable. Competition becomes more intense, and we tend to see the weaker competitors forced out at this stage because the profits are low. It's difficult to increase prices or to change prices during this stage because competition is so intense. So the key to profitability during the maturity phase is to squeeze cost out of your product. What's the definition of profit? Revenue minus cost. So if you can't do anything on the revenue side, the only way you can manage profits is to take some of the cost out, increase efficiencies, or reduce production costs. And the goal here is to just maintain market share. And this is most consumer packaged products are kind of in the maturity phase and have been in the maturity phase for a long time. We've talked in this class a couple of times about the cola wars, how Coke and Pepsi have been the dominant players in the soft drink industry since well before I was born, and they continue to slug it out, but very much a mature stage where you've got one or two competitors that are highly price competitive. And what we see during this phase, the strategy, is to extend the life of the product. And so this is where you've seen in the grocery store a lot of times the new and improved, right? And it's not really new and improved. It's a new flavor or a new size or a new shape, or it's the idea that if I make a small change to the product, it's enough to generate a little bit of interest in the product to keep it going for a little bit, but you don't want it to be a big enough change that you confuse customers. And because these incremental changes are easy to make, they're also easy to imitate, so you'll see this constant fighting over incremental innovations. As Coke comes out with lime, Pepsi comes out with lime. Coke comes out with vanilla, Pepsi comes out with vanilla. Coke comes out with sugar-free, Pepsi comes out with sugar-free. It's just this froth going on. Another strategy during this phase is to reposition, either find new markets for your products or find new uses for existing products. One of my favorite examples of repositioning is a product that you may have heard of. It's called Jell-O. Anybody heard of this product? Okay. It's a dessert substance. Has anybody actually consumed Jell-O? Okay. Oh, more than went to McDonald's, because I don't sell McDonald's. So don't sell Jell-O at McDonald's. Okay, so you've eaten Jell-O, and what they came out with is somebody recognized that if you make Jell-O double strength, it becomes almost like plastic. And so they came up with the concept of a Jell-O jiggler, which is where you make your Jell-O twice as strong, and then you can cut it into shapes and let your kids play with it. It's edible food, or edible toys. And they actually went so far as to one year as a seasonal promotion, they came out with little Easter egg molds that you could make Jell-O Easter eggs with your double strength Jell-O. But the idea is you take this product that people take occasionally, make it double strength, and then we've repositioned it as a child-oriented, fun, healthy type toy. And again, you use twice as much Jell-O, and a lot of times there's a lot of waste there because I wouldn't let my children eat it after playing with it on the floor. For a while. Yeah. And then the other is just to relaunch the product life cycle. Anybody here seen a movie? I don't know. It might be dating myself here. It's been out for a while. It's a movie called Star Wars. Anybody heard of that movie? Ring a bell? Yeah. As Captain Kirk, I think, is in there somewhere. Yeah. But Star Wars is a software product. Came out, gosh, in 1976 or something like that. and it went through a major success. And then the way it worked back then in the film industry is you would have your first run theaters, your second run theaters, and then you would go on TV. And each time you would have, I'd see it at the main screen theater, I'd pay $5 for it. I'd see it at the neighborhood theater, I'd pay $1 for it. On TV, I would see it in black and white because we never had a color TV. And then they came out with this miracle substance called videotape. And then all of a sudden, for $29.95, I could own a copy of Star Wars. So again, a whole product life cycle for the Star Wars videotape. And then they came out with this amazing thing called DVD, which is much better than videotape. So for $39.95, I was able to buy the Star Trek or the Star Wars movie on DVD with the director's commentary and never before seen footage. And then the genius George Lucas says, let's just reshoot them and put in some extra scenes. So they reshot the entire movie, put in some extra scenes, start it all over again, and then come out in Blu-ray. So we've got the Blu-ray Collector's Edition Diamond Anniversary. For now I'm paying $49.95 for this piece of software that came out in 1976. And then, then what we do is we just throw out the script, rewrite it again, and change the characters' names a little bit, shoot it again, and we call it The Force Awakens. But again, the idea is each time you make a minor change to the product, it starts the product life cycle all over. So you got first run, you got second run, you got cable, you got video sales, and each time you do that, you release it, and then George Lucas, you change the actual movie a little bit, and you can just start that cycle all over again. So brilliant. Disney does a variation of this. And who's the primary audience for Disney films? Children. What's the one thing that we all know about children? They don't stay children forever, right? They grow up. Expensive, that's why. And what the Disney has a cycle where they just recognize that children are always growing up. There's always going to be new children, so they just have their classic movies on a 7-year release cycle. And every 7 years, they release them again. The ones who saw it as kids have grown up, and now I've got a whole new crop of kids to whom this is new. And again, it's called evergreen.